Not to brag or anything, but I went to bed at 6 p.m. yesterday. Y'all wish you had this social life.
Sexy. There was a big spider crawling on the floor in yoga class, and all the ladies freaked out. But I just said very zen-like, "Namaste away from me."
I left my car windows cracked open after I ate food in the car. I wanted the aroma gone in the morning, but then overnight it rained.
Womp. We're entering a new season already, Sarah, and I protest. Can you please just chill for a minute, world?
1 minute. That's all we ask. Have such a good day. Hello, world, and welcome back to Have Such a Good Day, the show that wants you to do just that. Come on, Heather, keep up.
Hey, everybody. This is the show that unpacks the absurdity of everyday life. Everyday inscrutable life, Sarah. What do you have to say about that? You gotta laugh so you don't cry.
That's
Seriously.
right. You can cry, too.
You got to.
Sometimes there's sort of a laugh cry thing that happens.
Absolutely. Or sometimes a cry laugh.
I don't really laugh cry very, when people say like, oh, I'm crying laughing. I mean, I know that's just like a superlative way to say that something was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I don't really do that often. But you know what I do, which is so old lady of me? Well, I don't know if it's old lady, but like I'll sometimes I'll laugh and I'll clap.
What?
Like I'm like clapping that something is so funny. Like I did that in a movie
like
theater
slapping your
recently.
knee?
Yeah, like a knee slap type thing.
Yeah.
And I got like, why am I doing this?
Why? Hands.
Why am I clapping?
It's funny because I think it works both ways. So like you can cry because you're laughing so hard. And then I think I've experienced when I'm crying, you start laughing because you're kind of delirious with emotion. So I think it kind of works both ways. And it's both, they're very different experiences, but both of them are fine. If you're doing one of those, then you're doing great. How is everybody doing out there today?
Yeah, if you're weeping right now, we are proud of you.
Yes.
Okay? You're getting something out.
That's when you know you're doing all right.
Oh, man. I haven't had a good cry in a while, Heather. I'll be honest with you. I probably am due.
I had a good cry laugh the other day. It was, I feel like I have to force myself to laugh to kind of get out of the cry mood. It's a whole thing. But y'all, this is us, Sarah Lane and Heather Frank, the small and mighty team. Have such a good day.
That's right.
We're so happy to have you. I mean, so happy. I'm grinning from like ear to ear right now.
All right, Heather, calm down.
Take it down a notch.
They get it. We're happy. So anyway, yes, I hope everybody's doing well out there. As usual, we're going to go through the last week-ish since we all saw each other last or heard each other last. And I will start off by saying that I am sleeping too much. Now, I made a joke about 6 going to bed at 6 p.m., but I really did that. This was a mistake, by the way. This is not something where I'm like, unless I'm jet lagged, that's not a time that I go to sleep normally on purpose. I had gone to the gym and, which, my social life, it's what I do. And, it wasn't a particularly crazy workout. I'm usually there for not even an hour. I get my stuff done. If I give myself an hour door to door, that's all I need.
Yeah.
And I had come home and I was sort of like, I'm not super hungry yet. So, I'll just kind of wait on that. And, I have to take a shower and, just regular stuff. And I'm just gonna like lay down and rest my lower back just for a minute. And I woke up at like 11 p.m. It's dark. I'm confused as to like what day it even is because I'm sort of like, is it yesterday still? Or
could you
is it
imagine
morning?
Waking up yesterday?
It's sort of where you kind of look at the time and you go, oh, I see what I've done. I did something terrible and now I've screwed it up because I slept, not a whole night's sleep, but I slept enough so that now I'm up at 11. I'm hungry. I need to take a shower. I'm not going to sleep in my workout gear. And I was just so like mad at myself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what happened? I'll chalk it up to the weight of the world. I don't know. I mean, it's not that weird to like close your eyes and take a little bit of a nap in the evening, but this was something else. Didn't
Well,
feel
then you're
sick.
awake the rest of the night because then you're like, oh, I had like a really long power nap and now I can't sleep the rest of the night.
Well,
So
that's
it
exactly
kinda
what
throws your
happened. I was
whole
able to
schedule
get back
off.
to sleep, but well, first of all, I was kind of up for a while. It's like now I'm doing a midnight snack, which I really try to avoid doing. I don't like eating in the middle of the night. And anyway, it was just a mess. But so that's just one thing. Hey, happens to the best of us. However, I have noticed, especially because I'm tracking my sleep. I'm wearing my Apple Watch almost every night, overnight. And, I look at the data in the morning and it's like, I'm going to sleep how I sleep. I don't know how much it really helps me. I know that I go into like what it considers deep sleep right away. I fall asleep easily. And then I kind of, I'm sort of up and down. I have to get up in the middle of the night half the time, yada, yada, yada. So it's like, it's data that's interesting, but it doesn't do much for me. I probably need to take it a step further, figuring out how I can deep sleep longer throughout the night. Because, in general, I do sleep I'm a pretty light sleeper. I'm something's always bothering me. I'm too hot. I heard a noise, blah, blah, blah. But because I'm thinking about that in the morning, my Apple Watch or my health app on my iPhone or, whatever, the combination of the two, I'm always getting these like, good work, Sarah. You hit your sleep goal again. Where it's like, when I was wearing a Fitbit activity tracker, same idea as far as the overnight data that you get in the morning. I was like rarely, because my goal is 8 hours. 8 hours is like, that would be amazing.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I'm kind of fine with 7. If I'm feeling like pretty tip top, eating well, and everything, I can get by on 6.5. I mean, I need a longer sleep here and there, but anything under 6, and it's like, okay, now we're getting into weird territory. But anything over 8, and I'm like, we're also kind of getting into weird territory.
Yeah, you almost get like more tired. It's like
it's
goes
like it's
against...
feeding itself.
Yeah, I have had the same experience. I mean, I had a period where I was sleeping when I got back from my trip. Actually, I was sleeping like 9 or 10 hours, and I was kind of shocked by it. I was like I was like deep sleeping 9, 10 hours. I'm like, what is wrong with me? This is weird. And I would be really groggy in the morning.
Yeah.
Like as if, I slept a little too much, because 8 hours is like a sweet spot for me. If I sleep well, I usually will literally, solid 8 hours. And then I wake up naturally after 8 hours, sometimes 7.5. But yeah, I think the oversleeping can be like a total detriment for sure.
And I think people will, I don't know. I don't want to be like, I'm a Google doctor too much on the show because I know a lot less about depression than some people. I do know that depression can be linked to either not sleeping enough or sleeping too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're kind of like, and again, I really don't know what I'm talking about, but I can understand that sort of like, life is sort of unexciting, or there's something
you're in
looming,
a lull, or
whatever, where you're like, I'd just rather be asleep. And I've had bad days where I'm like, gosh, I just can't wait to go to sleep and have this stupid day be over, that kind of thing. But that's like a one-off. We all have our ups and downs. What I want to make sure is that I'm not just sort of like entering some weird like hibernate person mode where I'm sleeping all the time instead of doing something a little bit more productive. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it.
Honestly, I think it's a phase.
Yeah.
I think it's a phase. And it's funny, I talked to a girlfriend last night. I won't blow up her spot, but she was saying the same thing. I think it's, and you and I chatted a little bit yesterday about how, during season changes, and I feel like it's gotten darker quicker. I don't know. This is just my own experience. It probably means it has no scientific, fact behind it. But I just feel like we're in September. and it's already
Well,
kind of dark, like winter.
We're barely September. It's almost October. Gosh darn it.
I know. And like I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember it getting like, we're like already feeling wintry. And we had a beautiful sunny day yesterday, but I think for me, this is a little odd, but I did spend the summer away. I spent a month out of this area. So I feel like I didn't have a summer here. And granted, I had a summer somewhere else, but it's just this weird thing that I feel like I didn't really get any sunny weather here because I basically missed it when I was gone. And I get a day
way to
here
go,
or there,
Heather.
but yeah,
Way to go.
I know. Yeah, next year I'm leaving during June gloom. That's for sure. Not leaving in July. But I think it's a phase. I think it's all cyclical. I feel something similar where it's like, okay, we're moving right along. Life just keeps moving. Can't stop it. Wish you could hit the pause button on the world, but we can't. But I think when the seasons change and you're staring down winter, at least for me, like yesterday there was a really big rain. I wasn't ready for it. It was like, it wasn't even just like spurts of rain. It was like all day. You wake up in the morning, it's dark, it's gray, and it's really wet. I jumped out of the car right out in front of the post office, and it's like a very short, quick, like, I don't know, 15 feet to get to the front door of the post office. And I was like totally wet.
Yeah.
It was raining that bad, like all day. And so it
didn't rain much, but except a little bit overnight so that my car got wet inside. Wouldn't be the first time I've done that or the second.
Well, I live in a rainforest, so like,
yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. That's a conversation for another time. But I did have to dig out my galoshes. I thought of you and my raincoat. And it felt weird. I was just like not ready. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Summer is over.
It is a little early in the year, yeah. Although you just get more rain in your neck of the woods than I do. But yeah, I'm looking at my galoshes right now. Something that I took great pains not to, like, when I moved out of my last apartment, to not pack somewhere that was inconvenient.
Yeah.
In the dead of summer, you look at them and you're like, what? They're just like, we'll never need these again. And sure enough, every winter I do.
And guess what? The first thing I do when I grab those galoshes is
look for spiders.
Exactly. In fact, I think it's kind of like spider season. Yeah, maybe Halloween. I don't know, like up here, but like they're out. They're in the house. In fact, I found one in my closet this morning, and I always have I'm like, Elijah. I always have this voice. He knows it's like please come and get the spider right now voice. I'm like, I'm kind of like, can you please come here for a second?
I'm about to lose it.
Help. Like I'm kind of being a girly girl, I know, but like, look, I don't like killing any creatures, even creepy crawly ones. But when it's like a black, like scary looking spider, I can't deal. I'll let like a little daddy long leg cruise around, but because I know those are like harmless. But yeah, the summer is over vibes is hard. I think for me, I this is kind of where some anxiety sets in. I think I looked it up. I Googled it because I'm not a Google doctor either, Sarah, but we do Google our ailments. It's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing.
And it's autumn anxiety. It's a thing, apparently. And I think for me, I'm not ready for, it's like the darkness, it's dark in the morning. It gets darker in the evening, colder. Obviously, it's obvious things. But I think on top of it, it's the dreading what may or may not happen. I think the looming winter months for me personally have always been a little bit dreadful because of like my parents. I have my birthday.
Right.
It's kind of loaded. And it's like the holidays. I have to and I talked about this last year about this time is kind of reconfiguring the holidays. Like, how do I get through with minimal like stress and that kind of thing? Being cold, I understand why older people move to Florida. I mean, I don't know. But I think the other thing is things die. I don't love it when the dahlias get all soggy and dead, like I don't love I live on 9 acres of like greenery, and I don't love seeing like the plants die. And I remember my dad I'll never forget him one day saying, I mentioned this when it was, about this time when things started dying off. And he said, you really have to enjoy and accept every season, every stage of life, like when things grow and then when things die, it's all beautiful. And I was like, acceptance is hard, and that's been definitely a theme for me lately is acceptance. And it sounds so easy, like it's a easy thing, right? It's one word. Why can't I deal with it? Well,
yeah,
it's a tough thing to accept.
Yeah, acceptance is hard to accept. Turns out, we're still in Sonoma County where I am, California. We're still. Just yesterday, Heather and I were actually going to record the show yesterday, and Heather kind of goes, "You know what? It's really nice outside. Could you want to do this in the morning?" And I said, "Yeah, sure," because it was nice here too. I was like, "Yeah, I'll get out an hour earlier and get a little vitamin D." It was funny because it's that funny time of year where it's still hot here, but the leaves are starting to change and the light is low.
See, I prefer that.
So you've got those long shadows in the afternoon.
I like that,
and
actually.
It starts to feel, like you're starting to feel like, oh, yeah, it's going to be the holidays soon.
Like Halloween is approaching.
It feels like something. But I was driving to the park with Otis the dog, and I'm wearing like a zip-up hoodie with a tank top underneath it, and it feel like it. I was like, oh, it's like fall, but I'm looking at the temp in my car and it's like 81 degrees. I'm like, why am I wearing a sweatshirt right now? Where are the tank tops there? You're not going to be able to for, that much longer. And we ran around. There's a bunch of trees, bunch of different kinds of, very big mature trees at this particular park. And the leaves, they haven't fallen really yet, but, you're starting to get some interesting colors. And, here I am, walking around on the grass. There's yellow jackets everywhere. It's hot, but the trees are changing and the light is weird. And I was just like, I feel weird right now.
Yeah.
I just feel weird. And it's probably because I'm sleeping too much.
Yeah, probably.
But, like everything felt like I was like, oh, this is what happens.
Yeah.
It's like a shoulder season that has always been a little confusing because it's like, it's not summer, but it's not like, you said you don't like the cold. I mean, I'm fine with it. Whatever. I'll just wear layers or, do that. But it's still hot. Like I should have been wearing sunscreen.
Yeah, that actually
kind of
reminds
thing.
me of my hometown. See, I think I crave like the more, they're not distinct seasons like the East Coast, but Los Gatos is not that far from where you are. South has a similar climate, and it would have the same thing, like those long shadows. You'd really feel, you'd see the leaves on the ground, they would turn like orange. And here it's sort of similar, but there's a kind of a wetness here because it is a rainforest technically. I think I miss the dry. I don't know. We always miss what we don't have. The grass is always greener, Sarah.
I know.
Acceptance is hard.
Heather and I love to talk about all the things wrong with where we live.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know that no place is perfect.
We're not alone because I had a conversation with a friend last night about the same thing, and she lives in a different place. So, but I will say with that anxiety of the fall creeping in, I've mentioned this on the show before, how I'm not very good at planning ahead. I booked that huge trip this summer, like a month and a half in advance or something. Like I did not plan it far ahead. And
I don't know. Some people would say, a month and a half, better than a week.
Not bad. Well, okay. Yeah. I have a friend who, her husband literally plans out the entire calendar year for them. And it's awesome. I mean, he books the flights, he books the hotels, and it's great because then you're like, this is what we're doing this year. And it's like a nice thing to stare down the year and go, oh, it's gonna be great. We're going to go here. We're going to go there. And I always admire that foresight and like forward momentum. I tend to have a harder time to pull the trigger, but because of this feeling that I had, this autumnal anxiety, I decided to book a couple trips. I have been meaning to.
You and your trips.
Me and my trips. I travel like half as much as some of my friends, but 'tis the season. I don't know. But I have a friend who bought a house in New Orleans, and you know who she is, my friend Melissa. And I meant to go see it earlier this year, so it's kind of an overdue trip. So we finally booked that for November, just kind of a long weekend, no big deal. And then I used some points I had to buy a ticket to Kauai in February, just because I know it's going to be a long winter. It just is. It is in NorCal. It's like November, December, January, February, March, like April's still kind of cold. So I'm like, I got to break this up. I just got to break up the monotony and the dark of the winter months. And I'd like to know how y'all out there deal with seasonal blues. Are you a little more like thicker skinned than us, and you're like, piffle, weather doesn't really bother me? Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com. We'd love to hear from you.
We would. And hopefully the weather's good wherever you are in the world, if you're listening to this right now. And good is eye of the beholder, of course. I mean, some people are like, rainforest sounds great. I hate the sun.
You're right.
I mean, I actually do feel that way a lot of the time. I don't dislike rain. I dislike walking my dog in the rain because he gets all muddy. But that's sort of like, I don't even really care if I get wet. I don't know. If I lived somewhere where it rained a lot more often, maybe I would have a different feeling.
Listen, I don't mind the rain either, as long as it's not raining 30 days consecutively. It's just the overcast cloud cover that's doing nothing. It's just sitting there. There's no shadows. But I wanted to mention really quick, because you mentioned your Apple Watch and how you're, currently deriving data, sleep data, exercise data. And I wanted to update y'all because, I had gotten an Apple Watch maybe a year ago, and I was really excited about it. And, I was really into the sleep data. And I have to say, I haven't been wearing it for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's in my drawer being charged. And I keep forgetting it. And I'll go to yoga and I'll be like, shoot, because I can yoga. The only way I can really track it is to put something on my wrist.
Right.
It thinks that I am a lazy mofo because but I've been exercising almost every day, but it isn't tracking. And I'm kind of like frustrated with it. I feel like I'm kind of hating it right now because I always forget it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's a nuisance. It's just another accessory I have to like charge and update and deal with. And
yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, well, first of all, and I always tell myself this too, because I sometimes miss a day or, like a good couple of hours where I'm like, God, I was running, and it didn't get any of that. I know that I've been putting in the work. So you can like, you don't need your gadget to tell you what you already know. But I think, and this works differently. Some people do not like sleeping with a watch. I used to sleep with my Fitbit, which is smaller than the Apple Watch. I don't know. It actually just fit me better. The Apple Watch I have tiny little person wrists. And I don't know. I wish the watch was slightly smaller, but I don't mind sleeping with it. I've gotten used to it. And so what I do is I sleep with it. Then first thing I do is charge it when I get up in the morning. So I take it off, charge it while I'm sitting there drinking coffee. I'm clearly not mobile. I'm going to sit there for a solid hour. It pretty much only needs an hour to charge. And then it'll get me through the rest of the day and overnight. I mean, there have been times where I don't do this that often, but like I forget I'm wearing it like in the shower. Like the Apple Watch gets washed. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, all right. There's no real reason to take it off now that I'm done with the shower. And then I go to bed. So that actually works for me. But any deviation of that, and I'm always forgetting it. Yeah. And there have been times where I don't know why, but I will take it off in the middle of the night and not realize I've done it. I'm just like, it annoys me, but I'm still kind of asleep. So I'll see it next to me in the morning. I'm like, oh, well. So that happened. Whatever.
Yeah, sometimes I just don't even like it on my wrist. It's kind of bugging me. I'm like sweating a little bit, and it's just like I want to take it off. Like it just and it's funny how it's like these phases, because I was really into it for a while, just diligent, wearing it every day, and now I'm just like, I don't even care anymore. And it's funny how we just change. I'm like, wait, I was so into it like a month ago. What happened?
Yeah.
The honeymoon is over, Sarah.
I've definitely backed off from, when again, going back to the Fitbit, the Fitbit days, I was wearing it very judiciously at the early days of the pandemic. It was like all I had was like sleep data, exercise data, food data. I mean, I was like inputting everything that I ate throughout the day.
Yeah.
Including like ingredients for things. I mean, if you really want to go ham with stuff like that, it can feel pretty obsessive.
Yeah.
And it was like, I didn't even really have like a calorie goal. I was just like, this gives me something to do. And after a while, I don't remember who it was, but I mentioned that to somebody and they were like, yeah, I have too much like of issues with food and weight to do something like that. That would like trigger me in a bad way. And I was like, yeah, I wonder if I'm kind of going overboard also. Not that like this was like, oh, now you have an eating disorder because you care about what you're eating, but it was more of like I was getting a little too granular with some stuff. So now I'm like, I kind of know what to eat and when. I know when I've gone off the rails or, if I need more protein or, blah, blah, blah. So,
well, that's the one good thing about getting older is getting to know yourself and knowing what your limits are, your sensitivities and that kind of thing. And it's a very interesting process. That is for sure, Sarah
Well,
Lane.
the thing with the Apple Watch, Heather, is there are so many ways that it can be helpful to you. It doesn't have to just be exercise. But at the same time, if you don't like it, you don't need to wear it. I mean,
I know it's funny. I think the same thing happened to me when I bought my last Apple Watch a long time ago, and I loved it at first. It was just so like it was just like I was really into it, and then it got exhausting or something, and I let it sit in a drawer. And the same thing's happening now, and I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, maybe I'll revive my love for it. But
or I don't know. Yeah, just buy a Rolex. Call it even.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Honeymoon is just over, like, in general. I think that's also part of where my sort of malaise comes in right now is I think there's a little bit of that, like, honeymoon phase is over feeling for me with, I don't know, I guess sort of living here and doing what I've been doing. And things are always changing, and I think they will continue to change in ways that will continue to make it interesting.
Yeah.
But, in a way, it's like you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, now I really know this area. Like, I really know what I'm doing. I've hit a ceiling. I don't know. But I think this happens with anything you choose to do. So it's not like it's strange.
Yeah, this is not really related to living somewhere. I mean, I guess everything's related to where you live on some level, but I've been kind of thinking about that in a work sense. Not that anything crazy is happening with my work, but I've mentioned before that I used to make more money than I do now. And there are certain things that I'm like, gosh, remember when I would just like buy something like that and it wasn't a big deal? The price tag mattered to me less. Yeah. I try to be a lot more thoughtful about stuff like that. I also am I am not so, speaking of some of your more jet setty friends, I haven't done a lot of regular travel in a clip now. And I want to get back to that, but that costs money. Time is money and money is money. And I don't, it's kind of like, all right, well, what do we do here? What do we do? Do we just sort of say life is simpler now and that's just the way it is? Do we figure out, I'm always trying to figure out, because I have like a few different jobs, even though my main job is Daily Tech News Show. I do other things.
Sure.
I'm a freelancer. And it's like, well, if I freelance more, then I lose time, but I gain money. And what is that perfect balance? The balance has not yet been stricken, if that's the right tense. I still need to figure out a couple of things, because I feel like, if I wanted to do like the trip to Hawaii that you just talked about, it's like, well, I could do that. It would be at the expense of other things. So I have to figure out like, okay, well, what do I want to do the most? This is we got one life, right? So yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
I think also, I mean, who knows what's going to happen when February rolls around, and that's part of why I don't book in advance, because things can change on a dime, and
Totally,
you may not be
yeah.
able to go. I mean, that's
Right,
many, many months down the road, and I might have shot myself in the foot buying a ticket so far in advance. So I don't really get how other people are able to plan like that. I guess maybe they just wing it and they go, if we cancel, we cancel, but we just want to have it on the calendar because it makes us feel better. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Y'all let us know if you have any thoughts on this. We always love hearing from you early and often.
I think I don't know if you were talking about your friend whose husband plans all the trips. I don't know if they have kids.
No, they don't.
They don't have kids. Okay.
Nope.
So, I've heard like the whole, okay, we're going to look at 2024 and here's what we're all doing and here's when we're leaving and here's the hotel we're staying in, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And a lot of that, my friends who I would say like are more sort of like anal about getting all of the stuff done in advance, kids are involved, because there's school and, Easter vacation or, all sorts of reasons why things have to happen at a certain time for the whole family, unit to run smoothly. But yeah, I know. I think a lot of it is, well, some people can just be really, really good at planning ahead. I mean, I'm not married, nor do I have children, and I could do that if I wanted to. I'm a little bit more like fly by the seat of your pants kind of person.
Same.
For better and worse.
Yeah.
Sometimes much worse. But I have had friends, and I guess I'm talking about couples who, they'll have like, a shared Google Calendar, like for just like all day, every day type stuff. And I kind of go, wow, you guys are so organized. And yet something about this I think would bother me a little bit because it's like every hour of the day is just spoken for. And maybe that's what leads to a really harmonious relationship for some. Other people would be like, whoa, this is too much. This is smothering me, blah, blah, blah. I don't really know where I am on that scale because I've never really tried. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be something that I think about more.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's all having that momentum, I think it's hard for me too. I'm kind of just getting through the day, getting through the week. Definitely something to shoot for. I just don't know. Maybe certain people are just like that. Like they just know that's just like ingrained in who they are. They've always been planners or something. Maybe we planned too much being in production. I mean, I think here's sort of my learning from this, at least for me. I'm actually pretty good with work stuff. Like I've always been, I can make decisions. I can make decisions on the fly. I am a problem solver. Like I've been good with work, but when it comes to my personal life, I'm not as, I'm a little waffly. Like I'm just like, oh, I could do that or I could do that. And I don't know why. I find it so interesting. I'm like, I'm not as like certain. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is this decision we're making right now. And this is what we're doing. Like I'm great at business.
Yeah,
it's
I can really relate to that. I can relate. In fact, I've been in situations where, I mean, I'm still in the same career I've always had. It's, taken different forms, but more or less, I get up and I produce all day and then I get to stop. And, it's herding cats for, in many ways, just over and over and over, and you get good at it. I can't tell you how many times, maybe this is, back in the day, maybe like a boyfriend or something would say, all right, well, what do you want to do tonight? And my reaction would be like, I want you to tell me what we're doing. Yeah. Because I don't want to produce anymore.
Or like,
today.
Or like make the decision. It can be exhausting.
You just tell me what I'm doing and I will do it. Because, producing is, I mean, we use the word production, but it's like project management. Just, there are lots of different ways that you can describe it. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to, or somebody will say like, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I'm like, do not make me produce this. Yeah, totally. You produce it because when it comes to my personal life, I have a lot less energy because it's like I've already done that for other people.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's funny because my current relationship is a producer. My boyfriend Elijah is a producer, and so he can be really good when he's at the forefront. Like he will make the day happen, or But my last relationship wasn't, and I remember getting kind of like I felt like I had to kind of curate everything. So it's kind of an interesting thing to look for in a partner, whether maybe you love curating everything. I mean, I mostly like to curate, but sometimes it does get
I
really
know
exhausting.
what I like. You know, it's like somebody could suggest something and I'd be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or you're like, I can't really think of anything. Like, Sarah, do you want to take golf lessons? I'd be like, I don't know. I mean, with my limited free time, I don't know if I want to do that. At the same time, if somebody was super gung-ho about us doing that together, I'd be like, okay, all right, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
What's my better idea? Sit around eating Triscuits? So
you love that, though.
I know, I do.
You love Triscuits.
I love Triscuits.
Like I love lamp.
I also love lamp. I love Triscuits while lamp is on next to me.
True.
I didn't eat Triscuits and cheese for dinner Wait a second. What did I even eat last night? See, Heather, things are going sideways.
I know. Tell me about it. So I'm sort of like, my question for you, Miss Tech expert, when do you think our households are going to go full robot? Because I know that you have a Roomba and you love your Roomba. I have been in the market for a cat litter robot, and I have a friend who has one. They're about $500 plus, dollars.
Oh, they're all over my Instagram ads. I actually had to hide it because I was like, okay, I got it. You want me to buy this litter robot? Gosh.
Yesterday I was on Pinterest, like organizing some of my my little pins, and
your board, I think.
My board, and every like fourth image, it was like the office chick doing her ad for the litter robot. What's her name? Pam from The Office.
Okay.
She's like one of the spokespeople, and she's just like all over my Pinterest, like trying to convince me to buy this litter robot. And anyway, my point is that a lot of the adult purchases that I want to make right now are like around the $500 price point, which is frustrating because they're all just like appliances. It's like to make my life a little easier, but I can't pull the trigger because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for like a cat box, but it's definitely something that I'm really interested in because I think it would streamline my day. I clean 4 cat boxes a day. It's kind of a lot.
That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that healthy either. But so I'm like, I should be able to, I bought a ticket to Hawaii. I should be able to justify, making my day-to-day life a little easier. I want to know if any of y'all out there have a litter robot. The one I'm looking at is literally called Litter Robot 4. You've probably seen ads for it. I think it's one of the most, it might be Wirecutter's choice as one of the best, but it is like a higher price point than some others. But I do think it's probably, in terms of longevity and technology, it's kind of the best on the market. But I'd like to know if any of y'all have it out there, and if you can help push me over the edge one way or another. Please email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Yeah, do that. Do that. I slept like absolute garbage because, I explained why earlier in the show. And so during those sort of like, am I awake? Am I asleep? You have all those REM dreams. They're just so nonsensical, where you're just like, yeah, there's something wrong with my brain. And and then sometimes it's like, I'm in that funny, like, I know I'm awake. I know the dream wasn't real, but I'm still like working through it.
Yes.
As if it was real, but I know it isn't. And then I'm kind of like, what are you doing, Sarah? Like get control of your brain. It's that like half dreaming thing. And one of my dreams was litter box related also. Yeah, there was like a litter box that it was in the wrong place, or it needed to be cleaned or something. It was one of those just like stress dreams where like you were trying to achieve something and you couldn't achieve it, but it was litter box related. And I woke up and I was like, what happened to that litter box in my old house? Did I leave it there? I hope I didn't, because that's like a really weird thing to just leave behind for somebody to clean up, and they're heavy. Or did I like pack it? I mean, I would have emptied it and then packed it up. It's actually a pretty cool litter box. You mentioned Wirecutter, which sparked this memory, because that's the litter box that it had suggested to me several years ago when I needed one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it in my storage unit? I don't know. This is now me being awake. I'm not dreaming anymore. I don't know what I did with that litter box. And if you happen to now live in my old apartment and you're listening to this, because, that could happen, I'm sorry if I left my litter box in the bathroom. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yesterday I did a tour of one of my buildings. Here's the funny thing. These are all these buildings that I currently now own. It still feels like my dad owns them, but like I haven't even been inside half of them. So it's just very odd to it. It's interesting to actually go in them finally after all this time for the first time. And like yesterday we did a walkthrough of this, we call it the Purple People Eater. It's a purple Victorian, Sarah, and it has 6 units. So it's 6 apartments, and they're like a combination of 1-bedrooms and studios. And I was so sort of like taken aback, like going inside, like everybody was gone at work. Like we got permission going into the units because we had to do measurements and pictures and everything. And it was a trip to see like how people live, like you were like in someone's personal space, their slippers were by their bed, and one of them had a cat, sleeping in the corner. And it's just very, very strange going into people's houses, but like really sort of charming also. Like it felt like a little art commune house. Everybody had like a canvas going. They were painting on an easel, or there was like little like clay art projects and really funky art on the walls. And I was like, these people seem really cool. They're like students, they're like college students mostly.
Yeah.
But it was so sweet. It was just like kind of surprisingly a cool experience. Like, these are my tenants. I don't know any of them. But like seeing how they live, I mean, most of them were fairly tidy and adorable. And then there was a couple that were a little dirty and a little, slightly disturbing, but, we won't get into that.
One of the more disturbing Purple House people. Yeah. Over in Unit C.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I think it was Unit C.
Oh, I just made that up. See how good I am at this?
Yeah. So I'm actually trying to get more involved in this type of thing, because maybe it will connect me a little bit more, and I did realize going in there, I'm like, I see what my dad sees about this place, because for so long I wasn't seeing it. I was like, I don't know, I think we should just sell this place. But now I'm sort of like, I get it. Like each one of these places was one of his little projects, his little pet projects. And they weren't my pet projects, which is why maybe I feel this distance from them. But I'm kind of seeing more and more like why he was so passionate about this particular building.
That's cool.
And it's
fun
cool
to see. Well, it's always fun to like go over to someone's house and you're like, oh, what a cool spot. Whether it's a big house or a small apartment, it's all, I mean, y'all should have seen the place that I lived for 3.5 years. It was small, but it was so cute. I mean, that wasn't just like because I'm a great decorator or anything. It was just a cute apartment, but it wasn't cool because it was big. It was cool actually because it was like a minuscule little tiny treehouse house. But since I'm kind of in the rental market, I'm looking around for where I would land in a more permanent spot than where I am now. When I say kind of, I mean I do this every single day. I'm actually pretty serious about it, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet. So you see all these pictures of empty apartments, and that's for the most part, they say that's why you stage a house when you're selling it. It's like, get all the personal stuff out of there so that the next person can envision themselves in their house, not your house. But every so often, especially when, it's more of a rental market, which is definitely where I am in life, every so often, obviously someone's taken a bunch of pictures and the person still lives there. Or maybe they're using like photos from like a few years ago when a tenant lived there. And sometimes you kind of look at it and go like, oh, God, I would not have the guitar on that wall, and that sort of thing. Or like, oh, the exercise bike, they don't need that. But then there are other times where I'm like, oh, I like their apartment. Like,
yeah, totally.
I want my apartment to be this one. Like forget my stuff. I'll just move into this one. Which is funny because I'm actually not looking for something furnished. I don't know, never say never. But yeah, it's peeking into someone's life. And it feels
totally.
a little bit like I'm spying on you, but at the same time, it can be kind of, I don't know, kind of fun. Like, oh, I like the way that they're going to get out of bed and they're going to put their slippers on, and that's their little spot.
It was definitely a much cooler experience than I expected. But man, hard to keep up though, Sarah. I have to tell you, it's this whole sort of ongoing work happening at every single place. I have fantasies like your fantasies about the perfect apartment. I have fantasies about just living in a modest place on 1 acre, maybe a half an acre, maybe a quarter of an acre, and just something that I can have that's like new, that's not sinking into the earth, that, has great foundation, has great bones. Thankfully, the house that I live in does have great bones. It's just a bigger house than I think I normally would choose, because it's a lot more work. Like, for example, I have a guy coming over shortly to fix a bunch of electrical. There's, this house is actually not that old. It was built in the 80s. But, there's just a lot of strange little things that it'll never feel totally buttoned up, ever. Ever, 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 ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the homeowner thing, because it all rests on your shoulders eventually. I mean, with my property management stint in life that concluded a few short months ago, I felt ownership because, again, I'm sort of project managing everything. It's production still. I did not own the house, but I did feel a lot of ownership over it, but it was old. Real old.
Yeah.
Well, and there were several structures. I mean, you've seen it.
I thought it was kind of new.
No, I mean there was a lot of remodeling that had happened.
I see.
But the property itself is like early 1900s, and for that reason, everything broke all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's homeownership.
Like,
it really is.
I mean, it was like, I mean, almost to the point where I'm like, is the world like fucking with me?
I know. I feel like that too.
How can this many things break?
I know.
Have they always been breaking, or is it just like, did it just happen when I moved here? Kind of thing.
It's like the world is conspiring against you.
Yeah, which is
it's
that's
so
silly.
true.
But anyway, all right. Well, listen, I'm just, I don't know. I'm babbling a little bit, Heather. I've somewhat over-caffeinated before we started the show this morning.
But Sarah, we received a couple wonderful emails.
Yeah, we did. We got one from William. William wrote a very long email with some very creative ideas for how Heather and I can revive our Patreon. By the way, we are well aware that as a patron, we could be doing more fun stuff for you. We talk about it all the time, and then life gets in the way, and then we talk about it a little bit more, and then life gets in the way. Rinse, repeat. Heather and I really, really are committed to like, let's make this more fun. Like for our existing patrons, obviously, and for new patrons. You might say, I don't need to be a patron. I don't, there's no real good incentive for me. Well, the incentive is directly supporting the show and getting an ad-free version of the show. So there's that. But we do want to do more. Anyway, thank you to you, William. There's no way we could read the whole email. I mean, it would be an hour itself. But much appreciated. But one of the
very charming, like stream of consciousness, though.
Very
I enjoyed
funny,
it a lot.
William. Very
Thank
funny.
You, William.
One excerpt. William was talking about. I think this is coming from our conversation of how to sign off an email or a letter or something. Sincerely, best wishes.
Delightfully.
William says, let me start by saying I'm more self-conscious than ever about the amount of exclamation points I'm using. I abuse exclamation points in all areas of my life. The only compromise I would make it work was to use one, not multiple. I also can't tell you how many times I signed off with "thanks so much" with either a comma or even a exclamation point.
You know, it's funny. I relate to this a lot, William, because I think I used to be, I would consider myself a pretty enthusiastic person. And so I think in that being enthusiastic, I felt like I needed to show my enthusiasm with an exclamation point. I have since sort of toned it down because it can be a little aggressive. And I think I got a little self-conscious about it too. And I'm a little more choosy when I use it, especially if I use more than one. But I found that very, very amusing, along with the rest of your comments, which I wish we could share. But thank you so much for writing in.
Yeah, thank you, William.
And Stephen sent us a note specifically for me. It was a mashup video of the British sitcom Dairy Girls. This is in relation to my Liam Neeson obsession lately. If you don't know what I'm talking about, listen to the last 5 episodes. But Dairy Girls, I've heard of this show. It's a British sitcom. It looks really funny. I've never seen it, so I don't have the context, but there's a cameo.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah. This is it's Northern Ireland. You know, in the city of Derry, the area of Derry. It's funny. It's also you know, there's sort of a IRA thing going on. You know, it's during the Troubles as it's
got it. Yeah.
So yeah, it's very time period specific. But it's a comedy. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it's great.
It's really funny. I mean, I could at least appreciate it's a mashup of a scene in Dairy Girls with all the girls kind of being interrogated, but when it's cut to a very serious bit of footage of Liam Neeson in one of his movies, totally separate, interrogating them. And so it's this contrast.
What fun, Stephen. Yeah. What fun. No, Stephen's our buddy. Stephen has written us before. And we're glad you're listening. And yeah, Dairy Girls, Liam Neeson mashup. Who's going to say no? Yeah, not me. I wouldn't dare.
Anything with Liam Neeson, send it my way.
Yeah, send it Heather's way. I'm kind of indifferent about him. No, I have no issue with the man, but I don't think I've seen any of those, the movies where he's on a plane or whatever.
You're missing out, Sarah.
Yeah,
you're missing out.
I know.
Well, I will say one last thing before we wrap the show up. I'm on the new American Horror Story season, Sarah.
Oh, the Kardashian one?
Yeah, it's creepy. It's kind of my version. That I think the farthest that I would go into, it's not reality television, but it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure. So I'm really enjoying it. I know you don't love horror. It's more campy horror, honestly. But it's a really fun season.
Well, I am glad that you're enjoying it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get there when I run out of other things to watch. I don't know. I'm not watching anything good right now. I'm just watching kind of dumb stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, I need a good series, which is really stupid because there are plenty of good series that I haven't started yet, and people go, "Oh, wow, I really would have thought you would have watched," and I go, "Oh, I'll get there," and then I just kind of half watch things and sit on my computer instead.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's all sorts of resets that need to happen in our lives, Heather. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and hopefully reset your day in a good way. I was about to say by signing off. No, by giving you this wonderful hour of love and affection. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and make your day by wrapping up the show. So until episode 209, which will be next week, we're going to sign off on 208.
Yes, we will. I will always and forever be Heather.
I will be Sarah forever.
Have such a good day.
Bye.